Good morning and welcome to UUCC, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua. We are a group of spiritual free thinkers who gather to celebrate life, build community, and better the world. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we welcome you here. My name is Thomas Lyon. I will be your worship associate for this morning. And our minister is the Reverend Eileen Casey Campbell, our very own. She will be leading us in worship today. Available in the entryway if you forgot yours. Unfortunately, we are unable to sing in unison here in person, but humming, dancing, swaying, and other expressions are strongly encouraged. It's very hard when Bill gets such a rousing song going, but please hum or dance. Childcare will be available downstairs this morning by our vaccinated volunteers. We plan to worship together both in person and on Zoom next weekend. Please RSVP in the link in our weekly announcements. Our new worship service format is possible by the work of many volunteers. Thank you all. If you are able or willing to lend a hand, either here in church or on Zoom, please let me know. My email is tf, as in Frank, lyon@gmail.com, and we'll see what might fit best for your talents and treasures. There are, for those of you here in person, there are little cards at your seat that will be for joys and sorrows later in our service. And if you're online at the appropriate time, feel free to add those to the Zoom link. Lastly, Eileen will kind of let us know what our services are going to be for the rest of December.
Good morning. So we've got a lot of services in December. To be honest, I'm going to pull out my own calendar to make sure I get it right. You can go ahead and put them in your calendars right now. Or you can check our newsletter. If you're not getting our newsletter, you can fill out the book on the welcome table where you came in and make sure that you are getting our newsletter. So you don't have to write these down or remember all of them, but we're going to go through them. We are worshiping this morning, right at this moment. And then next week at our normal time, both in person and on Zoom, that's December the 12th. On December 19th, we will worship at 10 a.m., our normal time, in person and on Zoom. That will be our annual Yule and Solstice celebration. It's a multi-generational service. We hope to have outdoor carol singing afterwards for those folks who are fully vaccinated and are wearing masks. So if you haven't been vaccinated or haven't been boosted, do that because we love to sing together and also because we care about you and want you to be well. And then on December 24th, Christmas Eve, we will have a pre-recorded Christmas Eve service. That will be on our YouTube channel as of 4 p.m., but you can watch it anytime on Christmas Eve or any day after. And then on December 26th, we will have at our regular 10 a.m. time on Zoom only, we will stream a service created for us by UUA President Reverend Susan Fredericks Gray, thank you. My brain wanted to call her Stephanie, but there were a lot of dates in December. From Susan Fredericks Gray, we will have a service by her on December 26th. And then we'll celebrate the new year. We'll get to that when we get to it.
All right, thank you. And we will now enter a space for worship. Now I invite you to join us in our chalice lighting words. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, hopes and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in the celebration with life we share together.
From all that dwell below the skies, let faith and hope with love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung through every land in every tongue.
So this morning, we tell a long story. Technically, the Hindu holiday of Diwali has ended for this year, but as we're very much still in that season of lighting flames in the darkness, today we tell the ancient story of the Ramayana, the epic journey of Prince Rama, as it was told at least 2,500 years ago by the poet Valmiki. And the story begins like this. Rama was born the eldest prince of Ayodhya, a city in northern India, as far north almost as Nepal today. Rama was born a human, but the legend says he was an incarnation of the god Vishnu, who needed to become human to defeat the demon Ravana, who had been torturing the gods for ages. When Rama was an adult, he married his beloved Sita, a princess in her own right, the daughter of King Janaka. And there was much rejoicing at the union of these two kingdoms, and for a time, Ayodhya was filled with celebration. Then, Rama's stepmother insisted to his father that her son, one of Rama's two brothers, be installed as the king instead of Rama. Their father agreed, and he banished Rama to the forest outside of the kingdom. His other brother, Lakshman, followed him as he left Ayodhya with a broken heart. And Sita tried to follow too, but Rama begged her to stay and remain in the comforts of the city rather than live in the unprotected wild with him. And she said to him, "The forest will be Ayodhya for me with you there, and Ayodhya would be hell for me without you." And so together they went into exile. And I think that's why we come to church sometimes, isn't it? To offer and receive a love so fierce, to kindle the kind of joy that comes from knowing wherever we are going, a golden throne or the dark of the wilderness, we are going there together. Belonging is heaven for us, and anywhere would be hell without it. We pause our story here for now, and I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and to hum, sway, clap, or dance along with our opening hymn, number 178, the lyrics of which are on a little piece of paper by your hymnals, Raghupati.
Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sitaram 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 Patita Pavana Sitaram 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 Patita Pavana Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sitaram Ishwara Ala Tere Nam Tabuko Ishwara Allah Tere Nam Sabuko Sanmati De Bhagwan Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sitaram 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 Patita Pavana Sitaram 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 Patita Pavana Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sitaram Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sitaram.
We are a community that holds one another in our joys and in our sorrows. In our biggest celebrations and in our deepest pains, we say to one another, "We are with you." So I invite you now, if you have a joy or a sorrow on your heart this morning, to fill out the card found on your chair and to pass it forward as the basket comes by you. Or if you're joining us by Zoom, to add your joy or sorrow to the chat, and those will be passed forward as well. If you have joys or sorrows, please pass them in the basket at this time. Our story continues. So after Sita, Rama, and Rama's brother Lakshmana survived in the forest for 13 years, there came a terrible day. Sita noticed a beautiful golden deer on the edge of the woods near their cottage. It was the most beautiful deer that any of them had ever seen, and they were entranced by it. Rama went into the forest to follow the deer, asking Lakshmana to stay and guard the cottage. And after some time, Sita heard Rama's voice calling from the forest in desperation, saying, "I'm in danger, help me." She insisted that Lakshmana go and help him, rather than stay and protect her and their home. While he was gone, a beggar showed up at the doorstep asking for some food and water. Sita's compassion was boundless, so she invited him in to rest and eat. Unfortunately, the beggar, the deer, the voice in the woods were all a trap. The beggar was actually the demon Ravana in disguise. he revealed his true form and captured Sita, carrying her away. Ravana offered ease and comfort to Sita if she would agree to be his wife. She was devoted only to her beloved Rama, though, and she refused Ravana's offer. So he made her his prisoner instead and flew away with her. The animals and the spirits of the forest were loyal to the good and kind couple who'd been living there for years, and they tried to save Sita, but they could not. Jatayu, the vulture, was mortally wounded in his attempt to free her. When Rama discovered that Sita had been taken, he was heartbroken. He vowed to find her and save her no matter what. He noticed a gold ring that belonged to Sita on the forest floor. And as he walked, soon another ring. And then he found a bangle that belonged to her, and then a jeweled nose ring. She had left a trail across the land for Rama to follow. For nearly a year, he traveled the whole South Asian continent in search of her, and good people and animals recognized his goodness and offered their help along the way. In particular, he became friends with the monkey hero Hanuman, who pledged his loyalty to Rama and helped him scour the countryside for Sita. After many long journeys, Hanuman met Sampati, the brother of Jatayu the vulture. Sampati revealed that before he died, Jatayu told him that Ravana was taking Sita to his island fortress of Lanka. So Hanuman amassed an army of other monkeys and headed south toward the island of Lanka. Filled with devotion to Rama and righteous divine energy, he shape-shifted into a gargantuan version of himself, so huge that with one foot on the southern shore of India, Hanuman took a deep breath, stretched his other foot all the way across the ocean to Lanka, and made himself a living bridge. All the friends and allies of Rama traveled across him. Hanuman found the princess Sita in Ravana's walled garden and gave her her own ring from Rama so that she could know he was trustworthy. He went to confront Ravana with a many-paged lecture we don't have to hear here, and Ravana, being a demon, very rudely lit Hanuman's tail on fire. But clever Hanuman raced, tail alit, through Ravana's citadel, burning it all to the ground. Meanwhile, Rama and Lakshman, while Hanuman is creating chaos, floated to Lanka on a raft, and when they arrived, an epic battle raged, and ultimately Rama defeated Ravana once and for all, winning Sita her freedom. And this is where we pause our story for now. And if you're planning to go downstairs for childcare, you can join Dorothy on her way down.
Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the love of all surround you everywhere, everywhere you tread.
Now we invite you into the spiritual practice of generosity. Donations from all of you are the primary way we fund the good work of this congregation. 1/4 of our plate collected this season goes to Happiness House, an educational, recreational, residential, and sometimes some fun, health and human service organization that provides innovative and cost-effective service to children and adults with and without disabilities through collaboration with families and partners throughout the Finger Lakes community. You can give this morning by placing cash or checks into the basket if you're here in person, or if you are joining us online or from home, you can visit canandaiguauu.org/connection/donate. donate, or mail a check to UUCC at 3024 Cooley Road, Canandaigua, New York, 14424. In either case, make a note that your gift is intended for today's offering. We will gratefully accept the offering now.
We're holding lots of joys and sorrows in our hearts this morning. We share joy with Michelle, who got to watch her eldest daughter, Ariella, try on wedding dresses and feel so blessed at the experience. We're sharing joy also with Nancy, who's celebrating Becky's 50th birthday with her. With Gigi, who is so grateful for Thanksgiving with her family. And we hold our sorrows together as well. We sit with Karen and with Anthony, whose sister Irene passed away earlier this year, as they hold their sorrows. We hold sorrow over a surge of COVID, once again, fewer healthcare workers, and folks who have not been vaccinated due to disinformation. And we end with the joys of Jane and Hazel for their own vaccinations, and a lingering sorrow that autumn will come to an end. For all these joys and sorrows, and for those left in the silence of our hearts, I will drop a pebble in the water this morning. I invite you now into a time of centering and meditation, followed by some shared silence. Get comfortable where you sit. Take a deep breath. Let some part of you find the floor beneath your feet, or feel supported by the chair on which you sit, by the good earth that holds you. The days grow short and dim, and we light up our trees, our menorahs, our kinnaras. We put a candle in the window, all in faith that even after the longest night, the sun will return and bring the peace of morning. We gently hold on to the hope that after deep darkness, we will awaken into light. Wading through our darkest moments, may we dare to trust that we can kindle the light of life for one another. May we go to our neighbors in the dark shadows of their pain, and being there with them, may we become light and lightness each for the other. May we be bright suns to any who find themselves in the dark. May we be lanterns on the path, guiding one another home. And may we greet our own darkness without fear, but with gratitude for the light that we are certain will be kindled for us in our time. let us continue our story. It seemed very much like the story ended back there before the offering and the meditation, right? Rama and his friends defeated Ravana. Sita was free. They made it safely back to the mainland. So what more could there be? This is how the hero narrative works, isn't it? Hero faces a crisis. Hero rises to the occasion. Hero overcomes obstacles, including those in his own heart. Hero defeats evil and goodness is restored. So we've done all that. What else is there? Well, this is not just a hero narrative. This is a love story between Rama and Sita, but more importantly, between Rama and the world. And it's why I love this story. It reveals so much wisdom about our stories, about our real human stories, and how they actually tend to go. Because Rama and Sita, having defeated the forces of evil and regained their freedom, find themselves in the last chapter of the story, standing on the shore of India with no idea how to get home. This story assumes that you, the listener, knows a little bit about South Asian geography. So in case you do not, we can picture the subcontinent like a diamond shape, right? Ayodhya is way up here by my left thumb, which would be Nepal today. And they stand all the way at the tip, at the very southernmost coast. It took Rama a year to go from Ayodhya to that southern shore, and he is a long way from home. Today it might be a 2-day train ride to go from the northern end of India to the southern tip. So you can imagine 2,500 years ago how very far that seemed. So here is Rama having won, and still somehow he is lost. How very human for our God. But the thing is, all along this epic journey, Rama had met people and animals and gods and demigods. He had made friends. He had built relationships. He, in his godliness, or you know what, I'll give it to him maybe in his humanity, had demonstrated compassion and loyalty and justice to everyone he met. And so there, at the end of things, at the edge of the continent, they returned that love. They showed him the way home. The story ends with the people in cities and villages across India lighting diyas, little oil lamps, not unlike tiny chalices, to show Rama the way. They set their lamps along the roads all the way to Ayodhya, illuminating the right path home. And when they arrived at home, Rama and Sita were welcomed with more lanterns and bonfires and crowned the true king and queen after 14 years of exile. And the holiday of Diwali commemorates this act of love as people across India and now across the world light small lanterns and place them outside of their homes in celebration. People all over this hemisphere choose to light flames at this time of year, at this darkest time. Diwali has already ended for this year, but tonight menorahs will be lit to mark the 7th night of Hanukkah. Some Christian siblings are lighting candles at this moment on the second Sunday of Advent. We'll light fires to commemorate the solstice and burn Yule logs in a couple weeks. And then there are the twinkling bulbs on Christmas trees, the kinnaras for Kwanzaa. These are mostly very old traditions. And it's easy to forget in this age of electric light, when true darkness is hard to come by, how very dark this time was not so long ago. How real the fear of being lost in the dark truly was. It is a deep and primal spiritual fright, this fear of darkness, of losing ourselves. Electric light hasn't fully banished it, and the light of morning doesn't always either. So at this time when lostness and fear might really threaten to creep in, we consciously rekindle joy. We light flames of hope and promise that we will find our way home. This year, the darkness is strong. The fear looms large. At this time last year, we were celebrating the ingenuity of vaccines and the promise of renewed joy and connection that they held. And this year, though that epic battle was won, somehow we aren't at the end of the story. That victory is heavy with the sense that we are still a little bit lost out here, so far from the home we remember. And sitting with all of that makes the end of the Ramayana so much more meaningful to me in this year. Can we trust that if we feel lost in the darkness of this inarguably dark time, our beloveds will light the way? If our candle has gone out, can we have faith that others will hold the flame for us? Because this is why we come to church, why we do not go it alone. I've been working with a couple in the congregation on their wedding ceremony as they prepare to be married next month, and we've talked a lot about what marriage will be for them, what they mean to one another in this process. They're older than the average marrying age, and they've lived full and lovely lives apart before deciding to join theirs together. They've had whole careers and raised children, and when I mentioned that this might mean they're bringing a unique wisdom to their relationship, one of them quoted Ram Dass to me. She said, "Yeah, we're just walking each other home." And isn't that just the heart of it? Of all our most meaningful and fulfilling connections. When we, like the people in the Ramayana, let the light of our own love shine, it is like a signpost to others, a beacon in the night showing the way back to where we all belong. The flaming chalice is a symbol of our faith movement, and it was adopted in the 1940s. During World War II, a group of American Unitarians came together to form the Unitarian Service Committee. Their mission was to find routes to safety for anyone whose lives were threatened by fascist regimes in Europe. Jewish and Romani people, LGBTQ and disabled people, political dissidents, and even lots of Eastern European Unitarians. They set up their offices in Boston and in Portugal and formed a network of messengers and agents who found safe routes to traffic people out of harm's way. And their network used the image of a chalice with a flame as their symbol. They stamped it on messages and they hung it on windows to signify people and places of sanctuary, leading the way out of the dark. And Unitarians here in the United States started lighting chalices in their worship services then as a show of support for this effort and a way of reminding themselves to be a place of sanctuary for all people, to be houses of belonging and holders of hope. We still light a chalice every Sunday to remind ourselves of these very same things. If we kindle the light of love in our own hearts, in our communities, we can lead each other home to that same love. Inevitably, we each will lose our way at times. We will act outside of love. We will feel lost in dark and despair. We will lose sight of the light of love in our lives. We will feel banished to the wilderness of sorrow. But as a people who tend not to put much hope in heaven or in hell, I have faith in a love like Sita's, a love that says home is anywhere we are together and hell is anywhere we are not. We must step into the darkness sometimes, but we need not go alone. Ours is a faith, it can be a faith, where we look to those who are lighting the flames, kindling the fires of love when we feel lost, and know that they will show us the way home. May it be so.
Put a candle in the window. 'cause I feel I've got to move. Oh, I'm going, but I'll be coming home soon. Long as I can see the light. Pack up my bag and let's get moving. 'Cause I'm bound to drift a while. Oh, I'm gone. You don't have to worry, no. Long as I can see the light. Yes, I've got that old traveling bow. But this feeling won't leave me alone. But I won't be losing my way, no. Long as I can see the light. Put a candle in the window, 'cause I feel I've got to move. Oh, I'm going, but I'll be coming home soon. Long as I can see the light. Long as I can see the light. Long as I can.
Y'all, don't tell him I said this, but the ministry of Bill Mells is absolutely unparalleled in this entire faith movement. Don't let him know, but let us be lamps to one another's feet. Let our love be a light leading each other home. And we have a clapping hymn for you to close with. So I invite you to please rise in body or in spirit. Clap those hands, sway, dance, hum, however the Spirit moves you. To our closing hymn, 118, This Little Light of Mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine,
I hardly want to do this, but now is the part of our service where we have to extinguish the chalice. Please follow me in the chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.